It looks like some time has passed in this story. Anyways, let's see what happens. Bombockin's Acceptance, Part 1. The soothing melody of a gentle lyre music filled the air of the Sweetie Drops candy shop, mixed with the sounds of laughing fools and idle conversations. It was a busy day, and the whole place was completely packed with ponies, much to Berry Punch's surprise. "Whoa, Bon, this place is pretty crowded," Berry said as she walked up to Bon, who was sitting on a stool behind the checkout counter. She approached her with an alcoholic sangria in hoof, one of her favorite drinks that she had just gotten from the new bar that the human was currently working at. "I know, I can hardly believe it," Bon replied excitedly as Berry came around the counter to sit down next to her. Berry smiled at her friend, then glanced over at the countertop where she spied a small portable aquarium next to the cash register. Inside was a familiar-looking spider who was quickly remembered was named Scary. "You got the spider working for you now, too?" Berry teased whimsically with a smirk. This seemed to get Scary's attention since he turned around and looked up at her, waving a foreleg. "He likes to say hi to all the customers with me," Bon explained. "Plus, he gets pretty lonely when he's at home all by himself. I actually found this little aquarium for him, so I can take him everywhere with me. And the customers don't mind that a spider's up here hoping you ring up their purchases?" Berry asked, arcing curious eyebrow. Scary seemed to take offense to that remark and scowled at Berry, shaking his little body in protest. "Well, so far, no pony has said anything. They don't seem to mind," Bon explained as she looked down to the spider lonely. In fact, a lot of customers seem to like him. This seemed to cheer Scary up, and he turned to face Bon with a smile, or at least what looked like a smile. It was hard to Berry to truly tell, but he looked happy nonetheless. "Well, that's good," Berry said before looking down at her friend's hind leg, seeing that her castle's no longer there. "How's the leg?" Baba took a moment to stretch her back right leg out, flexing her hoof up and down to show off her mobility. "It's all healed up now. I didn't lose any movement in it, which was a relief. I only had to do a couple of weeks of therapy and magic treatment once the cast was off. The doctor said I made a full recovery." She flexed her hoof a few more times before letting it fall limp against the stool again, then turned to her friend. "So how's your drink?" Berry took a small and disciplined sip from her cup, savoring the flavor and studying it for her appraisal. "Not bad at all. Crackers really knows how to mix a drink." She looked over to the new bar area where Ruby and her friends were sitting, watching in awe as the human juggled a few bottles in the air. "Isn't he amazing?" Belmont said with a dreamy sigh, causing Berry to bite her lip, holding back her laughter at her love-struck friend's expense. "It's so mesmerizing to watch him work, and the fools just love him. Every pony in town seems to be more friendly towards him now, too. We don't get as many weird looks when we go out anymore." "Yeah, he seems to be a big hit," Berry replied as she watched the human juggle 3 bottles, catching a few of them behind his back before tossing them in the air again. The fillies and colts in front of him cheered and stopped their hooves on their stools, enjoying the show. Even her adorable little Ruby joined in, a look of wonderment and joy frozen on her face. Berry giggled at her daughter before glancing towards the other side of the shop. There sat Lyra, levitating her lyre in the air as she played in front of a group of fillies and colts that had gathered in front of her. Each of them had some kind of candy treat or drink in their lap as they were listening to her play, all of them swaying and moving their bodies to match the soothing melody of the unicorn's song. After a while, Lyra picked up the beat, playing a faster and more joyful tone. She got up and started to dance, move around, which caused all the foals in front of her to follow suit and dance along with her. "Looks like Lyra's a pretty big hit too," Berry pointed out happily. "Is she getting them to dance again?" Bobbin asked excitedly as she looked over to where Lyra was. "She loves doing that." "The foals seem to love it as well." Berry added, taking another sip of her sangria. She put her drink down on the counter next to Scary's aquarium, then faced her friend before continuing. So things with the shop have been pretty smooth then." "Things have been great," Bobbin replied brightly. "It was pretty rough at the first though. We hardly had any customers after the grand reopening. The pony came in for the longest time. I think it might have been because the pony's new Chris was working at the shop now." "I remember that, but it seems to be okay now," Berry pointed out brightly. "I mean, look at how many customers you have." She fanned out her gesturing to all the ponies that were in the shop, shopping for candy. Baba nodded her head, looking around her store. "We do have a lot of customers now," she admitted. "I think the word has been spreading around town." It has been actually," Berry said with a gentle smile. "I know I've been hearing ponies talk about this place all over town. I even heard a few of them here at work talking about your shop." "Really?" Bobbin asked curiously. "I hope they've been saying good things." Berry shrugged her shoulders. "Let's talk about crackers and how your shop has a new place to get drinks now. They didn't really say anything good or bad. I just hear ponies say that you want to come down and see what all the fuss is about." Oh, well that's good to hear, I guess. At least it's nothing bad, Bonbon said before looking over to Chris and Lyra, letting out a soft sigh. I can't tell you how wonderful it is to be working with both of them. It's been like a dream come true. The shop has never run so smoothly before, and I've never seen it this busy during the springtime. I don't think I've ever seen this place so filled with candy before, Barry added as she looked over all the shelves that were practically overflowing with sugary sweets. Is Crackers helping to make all that? I don't think I've ever seen this place. Wait, yeah, he's been such a help, Barry. It's so nice to have somebody else helping in the kitchen, especially somebody like him, who knows his way around. Bubble gazed lovingly over at Chris, who was now happy to get a new drink order from Ruby. Pinch. It's amazing how fast we can cook things when we're together. Barry smiled weakly at her obviously smitten friend. So how are things with those two? Got locked in any more cabins lately? Yes, the drunken friend strikes back. Bubble laughed lightly at her friend's cheeky little joke. No, I haven't been locked into any cabins, she replied, rolling her eyes a little, but things have been wonderful. Chris and Lyra have both been so helpful and supportive these last few months. I just don't know where I would be now if I didn't have them in my life. Barry chuckled a bit at her friend's corny statement. Well, that's about the cutest thing I've heard all day, she teased, picking her cup up off the counter and taking another sip of her drink. It's true, Bubble replied quickly with a light blush. They've been both wonderful and have helped me so much. Yeah, Barry deadpan, taking a large gulp of her drink before setting the cup down on the counter again. So is Lyra still living with you now that your leg's all better, or did she move back with Crackers? Lyra moved back in with Chris, but it hardly matters, Mama replied nonchalantly, waving the limp hoof in the air. We spend most of our time at his place anyways. Oh, do you now? Barry cooed with a devilish grin. I couldn't possibly imagine why. She paused to look over at Chris, who was now supporting Ruby in his arms, letting her pour some juice into a cup. Just remember, Bon. Breathe through your nose and make sure you keep your jaw loose, or... Oh, and use lots of tongue. Bubble blinked at Barry in confusion. Use lots of tongue? What do you mean? What would I use my tongue on? Barry chuckled, not the least bit surprised at her fellatio joke. Fellatio joke. I lost my face. Went over her friend's head. You know, she said with a gesture of wink. Stallions love it when you use your tongue. Bubba stared at her friend for a moment as the cogs in her mind started to return. Her eyes widened, followed by a bright blush that appeared on her face once she finally got it. But Barry, it's not like that. Barry held a hoof to her lips, suppressing her laughter. Sure it's not. Whatever you say, Bon. Bubba scowled and puffed out her cheeks. Really, Barry, you haven't done anything like that yet. I mean, again, and watch what you say around the fools. Barry waved a dismissive hoof in the air. It's fine. They don't know what I'm talking about anyways. Plus, they're all too busy with your lovers over there to even hear me. She finished off her drink in one giant gulp, then sit the now empty cup on the counter next to Scary. She let out a loud relieved sigh before wiping her lips with her hoof, then turned back to Baba. So then, I guess the big question here is... She hesitated with a wide grin, pausing for dramatic effect. When are you gonna make things official? I think they asked on each time, even though it's been a couple months now, apparently. I lost my place, stupid bookmark thing. Okay. Official? Bob questioned with a nervous chuckle. What do you mean? Oh, come on now, Barry shouted, giving her friend a playful shove. You know exactly what I'm talking about. You spent over every waking moment with those two, and you even said yourself that you are practically live at Cracker's place. So, Bob questioned again, blushing deeply. So, when are you going to make things official with him? You know, when are you going to join their herd? Barry clarified with a hint of annoyance in her voice. Well, I mean, Bob paused, unable to hide her smile as she looked over to Chris and Lyra. I'm not sure yet. Barry rolled her eyes at her stubborn friend. You practically live with them now, but you're not sure? She questioned, shaking her head in disappointment. Come on, Bon. I know you're smitten with those two. What are you waiting for? Just go for it already. I'm just, waiting for that special moment. Baba clarified, tapping her hooves together nervously as she looked down to her pet spider. Scary looked up to Bonbon and shook his head. Obviously, even he agreed that she should have joined their herd by now. Yes, Scary, be the best one possible. Love it. Well, that special moment, Barry repeated, making quotes in the air with her hooves, ain't gonna happen. This isn't some cheesy romance story, Bon. If you're confident that they can make you happy in life, then just go for it already. I know you want to. Bumba smiled to herself as she looked down at her hooves and thought, well, maybe we can all talk about it on our vacation. Wait, you guys are going on vacation? Barry asked curiously. When is this happening? Well, we leave tomorrow when the weekend starts. Well, gee, thanks for telling me, Barry teased lightly. So where are you guys going? I really don't know, Bonbon. Shelly, they won't tell me where we're going exactly. They keep telling me it's a surprise. All I know is that our train for fucking spoofs in this fucking. That's probably something I'm not gonna miss when I'm doing this. Niagara. Yeah, I don't know. Niagara Falls leaves early tomorrow morning, and we'll be staying up there for a couple of days. Barry hummed to herself and thought as she tapped a hoof on her chin, maybe they're taking you back to your old secret spot, you know, the one from you when you were a filly. Papa held the hoof to her lips and giggled softly. I highly doubt that's where we're going. No, that place is long gone now. Plus, all of the fairy lilies have been completely harvested from the forest. It's rare to find just one of those flowers. I still can't believe Chris found this one, she said, pointing a hoof to the flower in her mane. It would be fun to see that place again, though, but I think I know where they're planning on taking me. Oh, and where would that be? Well, I told them a while ago that I'd like to go and see the waterfalls up there sometime, Boban explained, with a cocky grin smirk. They think I don't know what they're up to, but I'm fairly certain that's where we're going. You really think so? Barry asked, a little puzzled. Positive, Boban answered quickly and nodding her head. I mean, why else would we be going there for all places? There really isn't anything up there except some old farms and a few small museums. Barry shrugged her shoulders. Well, if you're certain, then I guess you can act surprised when you get there. I've been practicing my shocked look, Boban said as she widened her eyes and opened her mouth, placing her hoofs on her cheeks, showing off her acting skills. Barry laughed and shook her head. Don't drop your jaw so much, then I think they believe it. Boban closed her mouth and dropped her hooves back down, then smiled at her friend. They both giggled at each other before Ruby ran up to them. Mommy, look! Ruby shouted excitedly as she quickly trotted up to them, carefully holding her drink in her magic. Look, Crackers helped me make this. Barry squinted her eyes and looked down at her daughter's floating cup. It looks like some kind of fruit punch drink. What is it? She asked sweetly. Cracker said it was a sparkling iced tea sangria, Ruby explained happily, being up to her mother. It's just like your grown-up drink, only this one is for fillies. And Crackers let me make it, just like you make your own drinks at home, Mommy. Barry smiled at her little Ruby. Oh yeah, she asked, sounding as interested in her daughter's accomplishment as she could. What did he let you do? Oh shit. Everything. Everybody says everything. He let me pour in the grape juice and tea in, then he showed me how to mix it, Ruby explained with a little bounce before putting the straw of her drink in her mouth, sucking it gently with a happy smile. That's wonderful, Pinchy, Barry said warmly, but are you ready to go home so you can work on that homework of yours? Ruby's smile slowly left her face, and she stopped sipping on her straw. Yeah, I guess we should go now. Go tell your friends goodbye, then we'll head home. We can pick up some dinner on the way, too. How does Hayburger sound? Ruby gasped in surprise. Can we? She asked excitedly, to which Barry nodded in response. Okay, Mom, I'll be right back. I have to say goodbye to Crackers, too. With that, she turned and started to gallop off to the back of the store where Chris and her friends were. Don't run, sweetie. There's no rush, Barry called to her daughter, then sighed lovingly. I'll tell you, Bon, she said, looking over to her friend again. I don't know what I would do without my little Pinchy. Bob frowned slightly, but kept her smile. She's very sweet. Maybe it's be nice to have a full of your own. It is. It can change your whole perspective on life, you know, Barry explained warmly. Little Pinchy wasn't planned. But I'm glad I have her in my life now. She smiled happily, watching her daughter say goodbye to all her friends on the human. But started to frown as she thought some more. I just worry about her sometimes. Bonbon tilted her head to the side slightly in confusion. What do you mean? It's nothing, Barry said nonchalantly as her smile returned. I just feel like little Ruby over there could use a father figure in her life, you know. She sat up and stretched her back legs out one at a time before picking up her empty cup from the counter. But I'm just being stick in the mud. I'm more than enough stallion for both of us. Damn. Papa giggled at her friend and nodded in agreement. You're a great mother, Barry. I think Ruby will grow up to be a very strong and wonderful mare someday. Yeah, Barry questioned with a laugh. Well, I'll take your word for it, but I think we should be going now. Ruby has a lot of homework, and I know we'll both be up most of the night working on it if we don't get home soon. Okay, Barry. Okay, Barry. Boban said sweetly. Thank you for coming down. Okay. Yeah, no problem. I'll make an effort to come down and see you more often, Barry said. And she started to walk towards her daughter, who had no doubt forgotten she was supposed to say goodbye and was now babbling at her friends about random things. Tell me when you get back from your vacation. I'd love to hear how it went. I will, Barry, Boban said as she waved goodbye to her friend. Just then, a yellow Pegasus customer walked up with a big bag of candy in his mouth. He set the bag down on the counter and waited patiently. This caught Scary's attention. He turned to the Pegasus and waved his foreleg in greeting, causing the new customers to smile. Bumble smiled as well, then cleared her throat so she could properly greet the identical. Hello and welcome to City Drop's Candy Shop and Bar. Would that be all for you today? Business is booming, at least. That's something that's working out. Thank you for coming. We hope to see you again soon, Baban said as she escorted the last customer of the night out of the store, then waved them goodbye. She turned and walked back into the shop, locking the door behind her before flipping the open sign to closed. The day went well. I think this was the busiest we've been since reopening day. Chris pointed out happily as he leaned up against the wall. That was next to the entrance. Baba smiled up to it. You might be right, but we won't know for sure until we count the bits we made today. Chris nodded before getting up off the wall, yawning loudly. He stretched his arms out, easily touching the ceiling with the palms of his hands and causing his now untucked dress shirt to lift up slightly. Baba couldn't help but stare as he reached up, towering over her while revealing part of his lower abdomen. She couldn't even quite explain why, but seeing him stretch out like that, exposing part of his body that was normally covered, was just so thrilling. If he would have done this before, she would have been terrified, but now it was exciting and admittedly sexy. She had to take a moment to close her eyes and suppress all the aloof thoughts of him, holding her tightly in those strong arms of his before speaking. At some point he's a sleepy bear, I see, Baba said with a light giggle, opening her eyes to look up at him once she composed herself. Chris nodded, holding in a laugh. Sleepy bear, she questioned as Maclenan's arms fall limp at his sides. You know, I love it when you call me cute and adorable things like that. I know, Baba teased, sticking her tongue out at him. Chris chuckled a bit, before holding a fist to his lips, yawning again as he looked out of the window of the shop. Oh, it's getting pretty late, and we still need to finish packing for our trip tomorrow. Can't you give me at least one hint about wherever you guys are taking me? Baba pleaded softly, giving him the biggest puppy dog eyes she could ever muster. With an over-exaggerated pouty bottom lip, she had a good idea about where they were taking her, but a little hint to help confirm her suspicions wouldn't hurt. Yeah, wouldn't hurt, okay. Sorry, I was focusing on a multitask. Nope, Chris answered quickly yet playfully as he turned to head back to the bar area. Don't worry though, you'll see soon enough. I'm going to start cleaning up the bar. Fine. Be that way, Baba grumbled, watching Chris walk away as he hummed one of those strange songs from his old world. I guess I'll start counting the bits we made today. She started to walk to the sales register, but stopped halfway there once she saw Lyra leaning over the counter, resting her head on her forelegs. The tail lightly swayed from side to side while she stared at Scary in his portable aquarium. What? No way, Lyra said in disbelief. Baba creeped up to them, getting a little closer, listening on what they were talking about. You had over 200 brothers and sisters? They're questioning loudly. That's crazy. I bet you guys fought over who got to use the bathroom first a lot. Is Lyra talking to Scary right now? Yes. Baba raised an eyebrow at their bizarre conversation, but crept closer. She looked over to Scary, who was waving his forelegs around in the air and nodding his head at Lyra. Oh yeah, I guess when you live in the woods and the forest is your toilet, Lyra said, nodding her head in understanding. That must be kind of nice to just go wherever you know. What are you two talking about? Bonbon said as she cut in a wig, walking up next to Lyra. Hey guys, sorry, dealing with a lot of family issues right now, which is something I'm not really accustomed to, especially in this new house and all that nonsense. So let me just go back to my background music that I've been listening to. Anyways, hey Bonnie, Lyra cheered happily, turning her head to face her. We're just talking about pooping in the woods and Scary's family. His family, Palmon questioned, ignoring the part about pooping in the woods. When she looked over to Scary, who was now waving at her. How come he's never told me about his family? She asked, sounding a little hurt and offended. Lyra blinked at Bonbon a few times, first responding, Whoa, did you ever ask him? Bonbon frowned sadly. No, I guess I just never thought to ask. Lyra giggled before pushing herself up off the counter. Well, he told me that his mother left them pretty early on, so it was just him and his siblings left to fend for themselves for a while. Oh no, Scary, you poor thing, Bonbon said in despair, holding a hoof to her chest. Scary dismissively waved a limp foreleg in the air at her, saying it was no big deal. It's okay, Bonnie, Lyra added, stepping off the counter. That's a pretty normal thing for spiders, and mothers and fathers don't stick around when they're born. Scary nodded his head in confirmation. Right. I need to start scrolling down when I'm reading. Really? I didn't know that, Bonbon admitted, tapping a hoof to her chin in thought. At the moment she realized that she really didn't know a lot about spiders, she made a mental note about going to the library at some point in the future to learn more about them. Yeah, you should ask Scary sometime, Lyra said as she dropped her chest down to the floor, stretching her forelegs out in front of her, much like a cat would while yawning. She then lifted her chest up and proceeded to stretch her back legs out at a time. What a day! I can't believe how busy we were. Bubba blushed as she watched Lyra flex that slim and toned body of hers. She could never understand how Lyra was able to stay in such good shape so easily. But oh, Celestia, did she love watching her stretch and move like that. It was a beautiful sight, and she had to make a moment to clear her mind before speaking to her. We're really busy today. Thank you for staying to help us. Lyra stood up straight again and smiled at Bubba. Of course, I love working with you guys, she said as she looked out the window. I wish I could stay to help you two close, but I really need to meet up with Octavia before it gets too late. It's okay, Lyra, we understand, Bubba replied warmly. Are you going to get your new practice time and concert schedule from her? Yeah, Octavia said she would have it ready for me by the end of the day today. Lyra answered using her magic to place her saddlebags that were behind the counter around her flanks. I'll just meet you guys back at Chris's place, okay? Wait, before you go, Bubba said quickly. She put on the sad puppy dog look again, hoping it would work better on Lyra. Can't you give me just one little clue about where you two are going to take me before you go? Lyra smirked a bit before responding. Sure. Really? Bonbon half shouted, settled, but quickly covered her mouth with her hooves when she realized how loud she was being. She turned her head and looked over at the far end of the shop where Chris was. He didn't seem to catch her little outburst and was currently washing a few glasses in the sink, still humming that strange human song. Much to her relief, she looked back to Lyra and took a few steps closer to her before whispering, Okay, tell me, I want a hand. Lyra gestured with a hoof for her to move closer. Bonbon did as she was asked, leaning in before tilting her ear to face Lyra. Lyra leaned in and whispered into Bonbon's ears, causing a slight shiver to run down her spine. Are you sure you want a hint? It could ruin the surprise, you know. Bonbon bit her lip and nodded her head eagerly. Lyra chuckled. Lyra chuckled quietly, then leaned in a little more until her lips were practically touching Bonbon's ears. This whole thing was, she hesitated, calling Bonbon a whimper. This whole trip was all Chris's idea. I don't know why. She leaned in back and gave Bonbon a wicked smile before turning around to make her way out of the door. Bonbon stood there confused. She blinked a few times as she processed what Lyra just told her. What? Wait, that wasn't a hint at all. Bye, Bonnie, Lyra called as she unlocked the door with her magic, then walked out the front entrance. I'll see you later tonight. She closed the door behind her, locking it up again with her key before heading straight for Octavia and Mindle's home. Wait, so is Scary just in a aquarium around her chest? I don't know. I feel like that's what it is. Bonbon puffed up her cheeks in an angry pout. Can you believe that, Scary? That wasn't even a hint. She grumbled, then turned to face her friend. Scary beamed up at her and snickering. Bonbon rolled her eyes at him. Yeah, laugh it up, fuzzball. She said as she walked around to the back of the counter, but stopped when she noticed something. Scary, your aquarium is filthy. She took a moment to look around his little tank, noticing all the dirty imprints of little spider legs on the glass and loose cobwebs all over the place, not to mention the half-eaten corpses of his old meals laying buried in the dirt. Honestly, Scary, I don't know how you managed to get your aquarium so dirty. Scary looked around his little space, no doubt seeing what Bonbon was seeing. He looked back at her and simply shrugged his furry little legs. Bonbon said, well, I guess we should. She started to say, but hesitated, gulping in fear when she realized what she had to do in order to properly clean the sink. We should get you out so we can clean it. She laughed earnestly, fidgeting with her hooves on the ground for a moment before turning her head. Chris? Yes? Chris called from the bar, stopping his humming as he put away the last clean glass. Bonbon turned to face him before calling out again. Could you come over here and help me, please? Come on, Scary. He's still scared of spiders. Come on, Bonbon. Chris put the cloth he was using to dry dishes with away. Then he walked over to Bonbon. Yeah, what's up? He asked once he was close to her. What do you need help with? Bonbon frowned, but tried to put the best smile she could before pointing to Scary with a... Scary's aquarium is dirty again. Could you... Excuse me, could you help me clean it, please? Chris looked over at Scary's aquarium and studying it from it. It does look pretty dirty. Yeah, we should probably clean it up now. I'll do it, so you don't have to worry, he said as he picked up the aquarium. Thank you, Bonbon said as Chris started to walk into the back of the store where the kitchen was. She followed close behind and shut the door once they were in the back room together. Chris placed Scary's aquarium on a counter next to a sink. He then opened a cabinet under the sink and pulled out a small bag of a new substrate of the aquarium before setting it down on the counter. This shouldn't take too long, he said as he started to unlatch the top of the aquarium. He set the lid down and reached a hand in to pick Scary up. Scary quickly crawled onto his hand and stayed still, letting Chris pick him up. Chris, Bonbon uttered, as he was about to place Scary on his shoulder, causing him to stop. Yes? Bonbon closed her eyes, taking a deep, calming breath. She took a moment to mentally prepare herself for what she wanted to do, then opened her eyes again and looked up to Chris and Scary. I want to try and hold Scary again while you clean this tank. You want to try again? Chris questioned, sounding unsure. Do you think you can do it this time? Belma looked towards Scary and chewed her lips nervously as she thought for a moment. She wasn't afraid of Chris's hands anymore, but spiders still freaked her out. She still couldn't touch or pet Scary at that, and that thought saddened her. For the past few months now, she had been trying desperately to beat her fear altogether and be able to hold her little friend without freaking out. She wanted this more than anything, and today she felt like she could do it. I think I'm ready. Yes, I can do this. I can do it this time. Chris smiled before slowly taking a knee in front of Bonbon, cradling Scary in his hands. Are you sure? Bonbon sat back on her haunches and held out both of her hands. She put on the best smile she could muster, and she nodded her head. Okay, Chris said, using a hand to gently hold one of her forelegs for added support, which helped to calm her immensely. Well, take it slow, okay? Bonbon quickly nodded her head again in understanding and watched as Chris slowly brought his hand that was holding Scary forward. She could feel her hooves start to tremble as her heart rate shot up once Scary came within centimeters of her. How about you just sit, Bonbon, and let Chris tell you when to, touch him. It's okay, Chris said, gently squeezing the leg he was holding her, letting her know that he was there in case anything happened. Just remember, Scary won't never hurt you. Oh, okay, Bonbon whimpered as she felt a familiar burning sensation start to build up in her hooves. She knew from her past experience with Chris that this pain was only in her mind, and she did her best to ignore it. Scary won't bite you, he won't bite you, she thought to herself, hoping it would help her to relax. Chris touched his fingertips to the edge of her hoof, creating a small bridge for Scary. As soon as his fingers made contact with her, Scary started to slowly crawl forward. Bonbon clenched her teeth together and squinted her eyes, turning her head away slightly as she thought the powerful urge to run out of the room. Her eyes stayed locked on Scary as he slowly approached her, stopping right at the edge of Chris's fingers. She could feel her heels start to shake even more, causing her to tighten her muscles, locking her forelegs in place as best as she could. It's okay, I got you, Chris reassured her, which did help to calm her nerves a little. After a short moment, Scary very delicately reached her leg out and gently placed it on the hard edge of her hoof. Bonbon whimpered but stayed still for him. Scary looked up to Bonbon before slowly inching his leg a little farther, touching the soft frog of her hoof and making sure it was okay to proceed. Bonbon clenched her eyes shut, expected his touch to hurt in some way, but she couldn't really feel much of anything except that pain in her leg. After a while, Scary started to slowly inch forward again, making his way onto her hooves completely. Bonbon whimpered again as she actually started to feel his little legs on her hooves. Her forelegs trembled, but she held on, doing everything she could to just stay still. As soon as Scary made it onto Bonbon's hooves, Chris used both of his hands to hold her forelegs, hoping to support her. Are you okay? He asked gently. Do you think you can hold him now? Bonbon slowly opened her eyes a little wider and stared down at Scary. She bit her lip, unsure if she could keep him on her hooves like this. She had never gotten this far before, and for the first time since she was a filly, she was actually holding a spider. After waiting a bit longer for Bonbon to answer him, Chris slowly let go of her forelegs and waited some more. Bonnie, are you okay? Bonbon managed to answer him, this time with a timid nod. Her eyes staying locked onto Scary the whole time. Okay, well, I'll be right here if you need me. I can take Scary away whenever you want, he said, watching them for a moment before standing up. He turned back to Scary's aquarium and then started to scoop out the old substrate, glancing over every once in a while and keeping his eyes on Bonbon to make sure everything was going as well as possible. Bonbon stayed frozen in place as she gazed straight into Scary's eyes. He stared back at her with a warm, friendly expression on his face, but Bonbon wasn't sure what to do now. Her hooves were still trembling, and she was frozen with fear. The urge to bolt picked away at the back of her mind. She fought hard to not throw Scary in the air and run out of the room as her panic started to rise. Her breathing became heavier and more erratic the longer she held him. She just wanted to tell Chris to take care of Scary off her, but before she could do anything, Scary decided to lightly pat her hoof with his forelegs, causing her to tighten up and hold her breath. After that, Scary slowly wrapped his forelegs around her right hoof, causing her to gasp and flinch back a bit. He went slow, moving his body down so he could better embrace her leg, hugging her lovingly. I want to see a picture of this. There's so many, like, things I imagine I just want to see a picture of. Or fan art of, to say the least. Bonbon could feel her panic attack slowly die from his actions. Scary, she muttered softly as tears started to well in her eyes. Without knowing it herself, she started to slowly bring him closer to her as the burning feeling in her legs began to fade. It was at that moment that she realized how wrong she had been. Scary wasn't something to be afraid of when he was out of his aquarium. He wasn't some terrifying creature that was going to bite her and send her into the hospital again. No, far from that. Scary was, and always has been, her friend. Scary! Bonbon shouted in a happy cry, overwhelmed with emotion as she pressed the little guy to her cheeks in a tight hug. Chris jumped back in shock from Bonbon's sudden outburst. He quickly turned, ready to take Scary off Bonbon, but stopped when he saw her practically crushing him against her face with tears streaming down her face. I said face, streaming down her cheeks. Bunny, you may want to let him breathe a little. Bonbon looked up to Chris and quickly took Scary off her cheek. Oh no, she cried out, worried that she might have hurt her friend. Scary, are you okay? Scary shook his body, using his legs to fluff up his fur before looking back up at Bonbon. He gave a little salute, telling her that he was alright. Bonbon smiled warmly at him as more tears streamed down her cheeks. She slowly brought him into her chest, being more gentle now as she hugged him. Oh, Scary, I'm so happy right now. Scary wrapped his forelegs around her chest and hugged her back. Chris chuckled at the two before going back to cleaning the aquarium, wiping down the glass before replacing the old substrate. Scary, he started to fidget a little in Bonbon's grasp, causing her to relax her grip on him. What is this, Scary? She asked as he started to crawl up on her. She had to stifle her laughter as his little furry legs tickled her to no end. He made his way up her neck and eventually made it to her mane, easily crawling up on her curly locks. Where are you going? Bonbon asked, still trying not to laugh. As he reached the top of her head, she could feel him turn around a few times before stopping, staying perfectly still between her ears, content in staying there. Hey, no more glass area. Yay. Bonbon giggled up at him. Comfy? She asked with a soft smile. Okay, hold on, Chris said as he turned to face Bonbon again, taking a knee in front of her. I can put Scary back now. He reached his hands out, ready to take him away. Bonbon frowned and took a small step away from Chris. Well, you know, she started to say, causing Chris to drop his hands down, giving her a curious look. He's in that thing all day. I mean, he's not hurting any pony, so maybe he can stay out here, you know, with us while we close the shop. Chris raised an eyebrow, then smiled warmly before standing up again. I think that's a great idea, Bonnie, and I know Scary will love that too. Bonbon smiled at him before wiping her happy tears away with a hoof. She got up, turned around, keeping her head steady as she made her way out of the shop's kitchen. Come on, Scary, you can help me count the bits we made today, then we can sweep the floors. Chris chuckled and shook his head, watching Bonbon walk out the door with Scary on top of her mane. He looked to the freshly cleaned aquarium and shrugged his shoulders before walking out of the room, shutting off the lights and closing the door behind him. Alright. Skipping ahead to where they're taking their vacation. The cozy passenger car of the train gently rocked back and forth as it chugged along, heading straight for Niagara Falls. Bonbon looked out the window to next to her, watching the beautiful scenery pass by as they neared their destination. She was sitting next to Lyra while Chris sat on his own seat in front of them. It had to work out that way since Chris was so large, but it hardly mattered since both sets of seats faced each other. It's been ages since I last saw this place, Bonbon said with a happy sigh as she watched the slow-moving horizon, the tall trees towering Rocky Mountains around it, her ever old home from when she was a filly, and she enjoyed the small, nostalgic trip. Wait. Does this mean that her parents live in this area? I feel like that's what this means, but I'm pretty sure Bonbon knows that they probably would reject. I'm pretty sure Bonbon's feeling right now is that her parents would probably reject Chris, and that's why she's not, happy to introduce him to them. But, she's a very happy mare with him, though. Anyways, let's hop back into it. It really is a very pretty area, Chris added as he looked out the same window. Every time I came up here looking for a fairy lily, I wished I could stay longer and visit some of the local towns. I couldn't really do that, though, since I spent all the time wandering the forest. Bonbon looked away from the window and faced Chris with a curious expression. How long did it take you to find my fairy lily? Didn't it take you at least a week of trips back and forth to find one? Lyra asked, scratching her head in thought. Well, I found that one, Chris said, pointing to the fire lily resting on Bonbon's mane. On the third or fourth day, I came up here, but I came back a few more times after that to see if I could find any more. I think I spent about 4 to 5 hours each day looking for one. Well, I found out this new information. You really dedicated that much time just to find me this one little fire lily? Yeah, Chris made it with a soft smile. I wanted to get you a whole bouquet, but we all know how that plan turned out. Bumble smiled at him and leaned forward, placing her hoof on his thigh. It's okay, Chris. The one you found me is perfect, and I'll cherish it forever. Well, I'm really glad you like it, Chris replied happily, placing his hand on her hoof and giving it a gentle squeeze. Still, I wish I could find you more of them. Chris out here try-harding. That's very sweet of you, Chris, Bonbon said as she leaned back in her seat before sighing Sally. It's just too bad those flowers are practically extinct by now. Yeah, Chris added with a hint of sadness of the voice before shrugging his shoulders. Oh well, what can you do? It sure does suck a big one. What? Lyra added in a nonchalant manner with an odd air of confidence, smirking as she closed her eyes and leaned back in her seat, putting her hooves behind her head. Baba raised a curious eyebrow at Lyra, finding the way she said that comment a bit odd, but shrugged it off. Yeah, I don't suck. Okay, let's go back to that word. First quote. It sure does suck a big one. I don't honestly expect she majorly sucks, but okay. She looked out the window again, seeing her old hometown coming into view. Her excitement grew as they got closer to the destination, eager to see what this big surprise was. Even though she was certain about where they were going, she still had a few doubts. Maybe she could try a different tactic to get a few more clues from them. She just had to ask the right questions. I hope you two didn't spend too much on this little surprise, Bonbon said in concern, looking between them in hopes one would say something that would give her a clue. I'd feel terrible if you two spent too much on this trip just for me. Don't worry, Bobby, Lyra answered. We didn't spend a single bit. A single bit. Okay, then where are you guys staying for the night? Unless you guys are just not vacationing out here at all. Well, except for the train tickets to get up here, Chris added with a chuckle. Lyra shrugged, waving a laser hoof at him blindly. Details. But once smiled weakly, having the confirmation she needed, she had to stifle a happy laugh, feeling proud of herself for figuring out their little secret. She was 100% sure they were going to see the famous waterfalls now. Camping out there wasn't easy and free of charge, so that had to be where they were going. Well, whatever you two have planned, I'm sure it'll be lovely, she said calmly in an attempt to thwart any suspicions that might have of her catching on. Okay, you say it's camping. I feel like it's your parents because it's your hometown. I sure hope so, Chris said with a hint of worry and sadness in his voice. Yes, Chris is worried. Chris is not sure. So I'm with him on this. I'm pretty sure they have a different plan than what Bonbon's thinking right now. Lyra simply chuckled softly as she continued to relax in her seat. Bonbon kept her smile as she sat back. She took a moment to think about how fun and romantic this trip was going to be. There was only one other thing that she had to think of that could top a camping trip like this. But beautiful waterfalls are just as good as and way more realistic than seeing some rare and extinct flowers again. I'd be mad if somebody sees the lily she has in her mane, and they'll try to get it off her and stuff. And I'd be like, no, you know how hard that took me to find. If I was Chris, I would be saying that, how hard that took me to find. No, it's for her. And don't you dare think about selling that bond. Okay, let's go back into this. Even though Bon was excited about their first vacation together, she couldn't help but worry about their little friend back home. Do you guys think Scary will be okay at Fluttershy's place? She asked in concern. I'm kind of worried about leaving him over there with all those other animals running around. What if one eats him? You kidding me? Lyra half shouted excitedly, quickly opening her eyes as she sat up again. Did you see the way Scary was checking out the lady spiders Flutters had there? Bob gave Lyra a confused look before responding. You mean that one that looked like Scary? She asked. Do you think they'll get along? Oh yeah, Lyra cooed, nodding her head slowly with a sly knowing smile. I have a feeling they'll be getting along just fine. Don't worry, Bonnie, Chris reassured her. Fluttershy knows that what she's doing, and her other animal friends won't harm Scary. I promise you. Yeah, listen to the guy that spent Because most of his couple years here working for them, basically. Bonbon smiled a bit at that before tapping her hooves together in front of herself worriedly. I know you're right. I thought is great with animals, but I just worry about him. Next stop, Niagara Falls train station. One of the attendants called as he walked through the aisles. I'm pretty sure people already know about Chris because he came up here multiple times. The train came to a complete stop at the station, letting all of its passengers off. After that, Chris, Lyra, and Bonbon went to gather their minimal luggage. Chris had a rather large backpack that held their single tent and sleeping bags, along with some other random items that they would need. Lyra was carrying the food and other survival essentials in her saddlebags, while Bonbon really didn't have much of anything to carry, except a live fire lily in her mane. She tried to offer some assistance with some of the load, but they insisted that she not carry anything for reasons that escaped her. It's the vacation's for you, Bonbon. That's why. Once they gathered their belongings, they walked into town. Okay, once they gathered their belongings, they walking into town, then stopped at the side of a long stretch of road. Lyra with a hoof in. They are flagging down a local carriage being pulled by two stallions to take them the rest of the way. The carriage stopped just in front of them, and Lyra walked up to the driver before whispering something into her ear. Bonbon walked up to them to try and hear what they were saying, but the red earth party carriage driver simply smiled and nodded her head at Lyra, ending their conversation. What did you tell her? Bonbon asked as she approached Lyra. Wait, what? Oh, nothing, Lyra teased smugly as she opened the door to the carriage with her magic, holding it open for Bonbon and Chris to answer. I'm pretty sure it was two stallions, not a mare, but right. Just giving her directions about where we're going. Bonbon rolled her eyes. Right, of course. It's all a big secret, she said sarcastically, sighing deeply before hopping up into one of the seats. Chris climbed in next and sat down beside her, dropping his large backpack to the floor. Lyra climbed in next, sitting on the seat opposite of them. As soon as they were all settled in, the car started to move, taking them to their destination. Lyra and Chris both smiled at each other, then nodded, causing Bonbon to raise a curious eyebrow at them. Using her magic, Lyra pulled out a thin piece of cloth from one of her saddlebags and floated it over to Bonbon. What's this for? Bonbon questioned curiously. It's a blindfold, Chris explained. If you see where we're going, it could ruin the surprise. Bonbon gave an adorable snort, holding in a laugh. Wow, you two are really going all out with this surprise thing, she said, with a hint of sarcasm before giggling softly. It was hardly a surprise to her anymore, but she figured it would be best to play along. Okay, I'm ready. Blindfold me. She closed her eyes and tilted her head up, letting Lyra use her magic to tie pieces of cloth around her eyes. Can you see? Chris asked, waving a hand in front of her. Not at all, Bonbon said, truthfully, turning her head towards the sound of his voice. How long do I have to keep this on? It might be a little while, Chris replied. We have about an hour ride and a little ways to hike before we get there. And how do you expect me to hike with this blindfold on? Bonbon asked, thinking she found a flaw in their little plan. Don't worry, I'll be carrying you up there, Chris answered sweetly. Bonbon giggled and leaned against his side with a gentle smile, causing him to wrap his arm around her. She had to admit that being carried around in Chris's arms was a lot of fun, so if he needed to carry her on their little hike, then she wouldn't mind. I think I'd like that, but are you sure you can carry my big candy butt all the way up there? She teased as she nuzzled into him a little deeper, getting ready to take a small nap. I think I can manage okay, Chris reassured her, chuckling softly as he gently began rubbing her side with his hands. Soon after that, he started to quietly sing that weird song again, hoping to lull her into a gentle sleep. It was kind of a catchy little tune, if only a tad strange. Hey, shush it. I don't know how the humming... I don't get how the beat's strange at all. I don't get that part about the song. Bonnie, wake up! Chris's soft and warm voice called to her, rousing her from her restful nap. Bonbon yawned, stretched out, then tried to open her eyes, but then quickly remembered the blindfold. Are we there? She asked groggily. Not yet, Chris said gently as he scooped her up into his arms. Bonbon quickly latched onto him, wrapping his forelegs around his neck and resting her head on his shoulders. She sighed happily as she felt Chris step off the carriage and touch the ground. Thanks so much for the ride, Lyra said to the carriage driver. Yo, have fun out there, she said before whipping the reins, causing the stallions in front of to rear up and take off down the road. You guys ready? Lyra said. Lyra asked as she trotted up to them. Yep, Chris replied, adjusting Bonbon in his arm a little. You two really didn't need to do all this, Mama said as she nuzzled herself into Chris's neck. I mean, I'm not complaining or anything, but this is all just too much. For you, Bonnie. It's worth it, Lyra said as she started forward to their destination. She's right, you know, Chris whispered into her ear. Oh, well, I really don't know about that, Papa argued weakly as Chris started to follow behind Lyra. She let herself relax in his arms, enjoying the little ride through the waterfalls. Papa's ears perked up and flicked around, picking up any sound they could detect as they traveled. The first thing she could hear was snapping of twigs and the crunching of old leaves as Chris and Lyra stepped on the ground. It reminded her of the noise her own hooves would make when she was a young little filly galloping through the forest. So you're both taking me into the forest. Should I be worried? The boys laughed before Chris turned his head to respond to her. Well, Lyra's with us, so maybe a little. Babon giggled at that before listening to their surroundings a little more closely. She could pick up the sounds of the trees gently swaying in the cool breeze, adding to her feeling of nostalgia. The beautiful sound of birds singing in the distance helped to enhance the eerily familiar symphony of the forest, and it filled her with a happy feeling that she just couldn't place. Why did these sounds make her feel so joyful and safe? I don't know if they would, like, realistically, I'm not sure if that would make you feel safe. Because some of us city dwellers don't like that noise. Honestly. And I have like the ocean breeze in my ears right now. She kept listening, trying to pinpoint the reasons why these sounds made her feel so warm inside, but the smell of something sweet and earthy interrupted her thoughts. It smelled wonderful and instantly it reminded her of her youth, of those more innocent days when she would just run and play, losing herself to her more adventurous side that she had long forgotten about. You're an earth pony, of course you'll love some earthy stuff. Babon continued to listen, finding something strange about that song that the birds were singing. Wait, Babon muttered softly, perking her head up as her ears flicked around some more. She knew the song these birds were singing. She knew it well, and these birds that sang this particular melody only flocked to one forest in the springtime that she knew of, and those smells, it smelled like... Wait! Where are you two taking me? Babon asked in a hopeless and frantic whimper, feeling confused and almost panicked. That's just no way that they're taking her to. Are we going to see the waterfalls? Not today, Chris answered nonchalantly as he continued to make his way through the forest. Just wait, we're almost there. Babon whimpered as the sound of Chris and Lyra's steps started to die down. The crunching of leaves and twigs were soon replaced with the familiar sound of rustling, as if they were walking through a field of tall grass. Suddenly, Babon's senses were hit with an overwhelming sweet and sugary aroma that could only come from one of the sources that she knew of. But was she just smelling her own flower that was still in her mane? It couldn't possibly be anything else. That's just no way. Chris? Lyra? There's no way they did this. No. There's no way they did this. It's okay, we're here now, Chris said as he slowed down, coming to a complete stop. He gently lifted Babon up before at least setting her down. No way. There's just no... I'm with Bonbon on this. There's just no way. There's no way they could have done this. Bonbon could feel her hoofs touch something soft and delicate before she hit solid ground. Whatever it was that was touching her, it kept swaying in the breeze, gently tickling her legs. She wanted to just rip the blindfold off and see where she was, but a hand on her back stopped her. Just wait, don't take it off yet, Chris said sweetly. Excuse me. Babon could hear him walking away from her, causing more of the same rustling sounds to be heard. Her senses were hit again with a wave of the same sugary scent as he did so. Can I take this off now? She asked desperately, and the sound of Lyra's magic humming filled the air. And she could feel the fabric slowly untie itself, freeing her sight from its dark prison. Her eyes fluttered open, but were immediately assaulted with a bright light, causing her to look down and shield herself with a hoof. She had to squint a little just to help keep some of the light out. After a while, her eyes began to adjust, and her sights were met with a woof of blurry orange objects at her hooves. She focused on one of the larger objects in front of her leg, trying desperately to see what was tickling her so much. Soon her sight cleared, and there before her, lightly touching her leg as it swayed in the breeze, was a small, delicate, and beautiful fire lily. But there wasn't just one fire lily at her leg, there was hundreds of them all around. Bonbon started to slowly look up in utter shock, following the endless trail of orange flowers. Her sights eventually came to Chris and Lyra, who were standing next to each other, only a short distance away. They both smiled at her lovingly. What? What is... How? Baba muttered in incoherent stutters as her heart started to pound out of her chest. Her mind began to spin as she tried to process the impossible. She turned her head, glancing over the whole forest, only to find that the field of flowers kept going. She slowly spun around, seeing a sea of never-ending orange. In fact, it seemed to stretch on forever, covering absolutely everything. She couldn't even see the grass of falling leaves of the trees scattered out of the ground, just more and more fire lilies. Rays of sunlight shone through the dense treetops, revealing tiny specks of pollen that danced and sparkled in the air, creating a beautiful scene before her. The whole forest seemed to shimmer and come to life, causing her eyes to tear up. Overwhelmed with a mix of emotions, she was excited, confused, happy, lost, and exactly where she belonged all at once. It was almost too much for her mind to process. This place wasn't the famous Niagara Falls. It was so much better. It was her old sanctuary, only larger, her old spot to run to when life seemed to be at its worst. It was her childhood, manifested into the physical form all around her. That last paragraph was a beautiful piece of writing. But how? Why? I don't understand, Mama whimpered as more tears started to form under her ears, her eyes. She turned back to face Chris and Lyra, who were still gazing at her lovingly, waiting. How? Chris walked up, taking a knee in the field of flowers in front of her. He looked her in the eyes and smiled brightly. Lyra, and I had the idea to try and find that secret spot of yours. It was your idea? Lyra sang happily from behind him. Chris rolled his eyes, keeping this happy smile. Yes, well, we both worked together to make this happen for you, Bonnie, he clarified, placing a hand on her withers. But both of you, Bonbon asked, looking into his beautiful hazel-colored eyes as the tear ran down her cheek. Chris nodded his head. We both took turns come down here on different days to try and find your old spot, but we failed every time. We tried for a whole month to find that place, but it just wasn't here anymore. All of this, Chris said, glancing over the forest before coming back into her ears, was Lyra's idea. She thought if we couldn't find it, then maybe we could try and recreate it. We had to ask Princess Twilight to help us with that part, though. I called in a few favors, and she was more than happy to assist with our gift to you. You had Twilight grow all these flowers? Papa whimpered as more tears streamed down her cheeks. Lyra walked up from behind Chris and stood next to him before happily explaining. She used a powerful spell to magically grow all these flowers. They're all real, but will die within a few days. The spell she learned wasn't a permanent one, only temporary, but it gives us enough time to enjoy it and camp out here for a while. Baba couldn't believe what she was hearing or even seeing. She had to take a few steps back and turn away from them as she processed everything. There was the same forest she knew as a filly, but it wasn't the same spot where she used to hide away. It was better than that. This was some kind of impossible dream come to life. She could feel her more adventurous and long-lost inner filly screaming at her to be set free so she could run amok in the field and just have fun. Bonnie, Chris called in concern after she went silent for a while. Are you okay? Bonbon slowly turned her head around, blinking her tears away as she looked at them. Her legs started to tremble with anticipation as a wide, toothy grin spread across her muzzle. She burst into a fit of laughter before galloping off as fast as she could through the field of flowers, kicking up a cluster of orange petals in her wake. Chris and Lyra both gave each other shocked looks before smirking playfully. They dropped their saddlebags and backpack, then jumped up and gave chase. Bonbon continued to gallop and skip through the forest, giggling all the while. She tumbled into a thick grouping of fire lilies and started to roll around. Taking a moment to catch her breath, she laid there on her back and then turned over onto her belly. She scooped up a large group of the flowers in her forelegs and pressed her muzzle into them, taking in their nostalgic scent. Bonnie? Chris's voice called from behind her, causing her to look back. Bonbon got an evil idea and quickly hid herself behind a nearby fallen tree. She stealthily crawled over to the end of the tree, peering out from under some of the exposed roots as she watched Chris and Lyra run up. What do you do? Please jump on them. Please jump on Chris. Not sure Lyra would like that, but yeah. You're having fun. That's the point here. Bonnie, where did you go? Lyra called out. As she followed next to Chris, they both slowed down and started to slowly walk around as they looked for him. Bonbon smirked into her. I feel like they both think she just got insane. Bonbon smirked to herself before slowly crawling back into her little hiding spot. She listened carefully to the rustling of the flowers as Chris and Lyra walked, gauging where they were. Once she was confident that they were close enough, she quickly jumped up top of the fallen tree, then aimed herself at them before springing into action. Surprise! She shouted as she jumped towards them, intent on tackling one of them in a deadly hug. Chris jerked his head towards Bonbon and quickly rolled out of the way. Lyra yelled in surprise and jumped back as well, causing Bonbon to miss them both. Bonbon landed on the ground, almost tripping on the process, but quickly regained her balance. She spun around, taking a more predatory stance, ready to bounce again as she tail wagged from side to side. Whoa, good one, Bonnie, Lyra praised with a laugh. You scared the buck out of us. Me. Yeah, Chris added, picking himself up, brushing off some of the flower petals that had caught on his clothing. I thought you had me there for sure. Bonbon chuckled menacingly, then stood up a bit more before turning her back to them. I bet you two can't catch me, she said with a cocky grin as she looked back, swaying her hips in a taunting manner. Lyra and Chris both blinked in confusion before grinning with excitement. Chris was the first one to jump out to try and catch her, but Bonbon was too quick. She jumped forward, causing him to miss and land on his face. Bonbon laughed uncontrollably at his expense, snorting a few times before taking off into the forest of fire lilies. You'll have to do better than that. Come on, Chris, Lyra cheered, using her magic to help Chris to his feet. We have to catch her. They both ran off together, ran off together, chasing after Bonbon. It had been way too long since Bonbon felt this alive. She couldn't have been happier to be sharing this moment with Chris and Lyra, running through the woods like a bunch of immature fools. They all continued to chase each other back and forth, playing a spontaneous game of tag or something similar to it. Honestly, Bonbon didn't know what they were doing, but it hardly mattered. In the middle of all this fooling around, Bonbon jumped Chris in a full sprint. She wrapped her forelegs around his chest as the bodies collided, tackling him to the soft ground of fire lilies underneath them. They both started to laugh uncontrollably as they lay together in the field of flowers. Oh, wow, Chris breathed. As he came down from his laughter, wrapping his arms around Bonbon, holding her close to his chest. You really got me good that time. Bonbon giggled a bit, then paused as she looked into Chris's eyes, taking a moment to admire his well-trimmed beard and charming features. The longer she gazed at him, the warmer she felt. Her smile started to fade ever so slightly as the embrace lingered. Chris's smile started to leave his lips as well. His eyelids started to fall on his head, began to inch closer to hers all on its own. Bonbon slowly leaned down as if being pulled by some unknown force and she unwelcomed it. This felt right to her, like it was meant to be. This was the moment she was waiting for. Chris, she whispered as her lips coming within centimeters of his. Chris pressed his lips against hers, kissing her for the very first time before she could finish. Yes. Nice job, Chris. This time, you don't think it's part of some damn culture of extremely friendly ponies. Freaking weirdo. Bonbon closed her eyes as she leaned in into Chris. His lips were soft and smooth as his whiskers tickled her nose and the life away. It was just a little like she imagined kissing him would be like, and she loved every second of it. Chris closed his eyes as well, bringing his right hand up to gently hold the back of her head as he deepened their embrace. Bonbon hummed into his lips, feeling a tear roll down her cheek. It felt like a piece of her life that was missing had been found. It was at that moment she knew without a doubt that what she wanted. She knew that she belonged here with Chris and Lyra. They were a part of her as much as she was a part of them, and she wanted this feeling to last forever. Lyra walked up and lay down in the grass next to them as they slowly broke their kiss apart. Bonbon smiled happily with a misty eye as she looked over towards Lyra. I want this, she said softly, wiping away some of her tears. I want to be with both of you. Chris and Lyra glanced at each other, smiling before looking back to Bonbon. We were actually going to ask you if you wanted to make things official and join our herd when this trip was over, Chris replied warmly, running a gentle hand through her curly mane. Bonbon quickly nodded her head in response. With a wide smile, as more tears started to well up in her ears. Yes, of course I do. Lyra leaned in and kissed Bonbon on the lips. They lingered there for a moment before slowly breaking their light embrace apart. We would be more than happy to have you as part of our family, Bonnie, Lyra cooed lovingly. Chris slowly rolled over, taking Bonbon with him. He gently laid her on her back in the field of fire lilies and smiled down at her. Bonnie, he said in a soft, sweet voice, are you sure this is what you want, to be with Lyra and I? I do. I truly do. More than anything in the world, Bonbon admitted happily. I want this. I want you both in my life. I love you. I love you both so much. We love you too, Bonbon, Lyra said softly, slinging another kiss. And we always will, Chris added, running a hand rolling through her curly mane, causing some of the orange petals in her hair to fall back into the field of fire lilies behind her. I'm gonna guess the one she has in her mane is still there. And, is not falling apart like the rest, because, Lyra's little spell. Bonbon nodded her head as she wiped away the tears from her eyes. She couldn't have been happier to be here at this moment with the ones she loved. She wanted to be with Chris and Lyra and share her life with theirs forever. She was ready to accept her feelings for Chris and finally be a part of their family. The end. Anyways, guys, thank you all for watching. Listening to you guys. And that's the next one. Goodbye. 2 more chapters to go. And I'm going to be focusing. And then I'm done. I'm going to be doing the Q&A. And it's going to be goodbye for now. And guys, goodbye, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
I'm not laggy right now. And here, there's gonna be like a VOD of this anyways. You're fine, brother. You know, I think I would like you to be involved with all the bullshit that I've been doing, because I'm out here. I already sold Jacob a horse. What do you want, sir? I'll get you a car, I'll get you anything. I'll get you a truck for 1 mil, 150. We got this. I'll sell a banana peel. I'll sell a banana.